Hey guys, welcome back. So today I brought home two Champion generators. These were at a salvage yard, waiting basically to be melted down. And I have no idea if either of these can be saved or what the problems are with them, other than the obvious. Both are missing parts, specifically the carburetor, the airbox, the recoil assemblies, and both of these are electric start, but neither one has a battery or the cables for the battery. All that said, not too concerned about the missing parts. These are Honda clones. Those parts are fairly cheap. I think the bigger issue here is that these are also damaged. If you look here on the top, the one on the right definitely took a pretty big blow. It kind of crushed the tank on this side, crushed the frame, and overall, this frame isn't in great shape. That said, if the engine or the power head is good, then it will have paid for both of these. I did pay $75 each, and really haven't done anything to them other than turn the engine over by hand. And this one has compression, and I'd say can be made to run again. The one on the left, not so sure. There is no compression. The spark plug is in. But that said, I do hear a pulse of air coming out of this breather tube. So I don't think the piston's blown. Most likely it's a valve issue. So I'm going to start with this one. I want to get the valve cover off and take a look at those valves, see if we can't figure out what's going on. Well, that's a problem. Well, it's kind of hard to get the good angle here to show you what's going on, but this valve spring, you can see it's all bunched up. This valve is actually hanging open, whereas that one is closed. So I'm going to get this rocker out of the way. We'll try tapping it a bit and see if we can't get that to free up. Just want to get that rotator cap out before I lose it. Well, it went in more. Yeah, it's not really doing too much other than going in further, and then I can get it to kind of pop back to where it was. I might be making a little bit of progress, but I'm thinking the valve is most likely bent. I don't think it's going to come out on its own, so I think we need to get the head off. So in order to get the head off, we need to free it up, which means removing the exhaust, removing this heat shield here, potentially the blower housing. If there was a carburetor, that would also have to come off. So we'll free that up. But I think I'm going to start with just getting the tank out of the way. That'll kind of give a better view of what's going on down here. Here's a close-up look at the engine block. I mean, it is spotless. There's no dirt, no corrosion, no oil. I haven't found a date code on this yet, but despite the condition of the frame and the exhaust valve, the engine and the generator head look to be in pretty good shape. And given that the exhaust valve is stuck, I think it's a pretty safe assumption that this power head is probably good. I think the blower housing is hanging things up, so I'm just going to remove a few bolts there and get that out of the way. It actually looks pretty decent. I was expecting the piston to have some damage on it on the left side where the valve may have been contacting it, but it looks good. Cylinder also looks good. And as far as the valve itself, it's not really that bad. I was expecting it to be bent or visibly damaged, but I'm not seeing that. So let's get this up on the bench and see if we can't free this valve up. So I've been spraying a lot of PB Blaster in here to give it a fighting chance. If you have a brass rod, this would be a good time to use it. I actually don't. So I'm going to tap on it a bit with this plastic hammer and see if I can't get it to pop in. And it did. Yeah, it looks like there was just rust. It looks like the valve stem itself rusted up. Not too bad, though. All right, and it's not bent. I'm just going to clean it up. We'll try putting it back in and see how it does. Just using WD-40 and a bit of Scotch-Brite. Yeah, I'd say that was an easy fix. It's moving quite well now. So I'm going to take a minute. I want to lap the valves, clean this up while it's off, and I do need to get a new head gasket for this. And we get a good line going all the way around. So that's good. It's making good contact with the seat. Okay, that one looks good too. So we'll get this thing back together. I'm going to do the exhaust valve a little more. I shouldn't be able to turn it while pushing down on it, and I can. So it's not making very good contact. Cannot do that with the intake. Yeah, it's better. It doesn't spin anymore. So this is ready to put back together. And I was wrong about the head gasket. It's actually a metal head gasket, and it's in very good condition. So that can be reused. I'm just going to place this under the exhaust valve to keep it closed while trying to get the spring on. Just degreasing the surface, and I've already done the same on the engine side. I don't have the service manual for this engine. At least I don't think I do. I do have a Rato service manual, which this very well could be. I think that's the problem with a lot of these Chinese clones. They don't put their name on it. But according to that manual, this size engine, these bolts should be tightened in a cross pattern up to 40 Newton meters, which is about 29 foot-pounds. And it does say to do it in increments, 2 or 3 increments. So I'm going to start at 100 inch-pounds and then bring it up to 20 and then finally 29. I don't have a spec for what these rockers should be tightened to, but for an engine this size, the bolt this size, I would think about 100 inch-pounds should do it. Yeah, clearance feels pretty good. There's a little bit of clearance on each. Definitely not too excessive. They could be a bit tight, so I'll double check those. Yeah, they're both tight. According to the Rato manual, the intake should be around 5 thousandths, which is what this is, and the exhaust around 7. If you're not sure, usually setting them around 5 is a pretty good guess, and in this case it should be 5 and 7. Yeah, we've got pretty good compression. Excellent. So I don't have the correct carburetor for this engine, and it's easy enough to get. They're about 20 bucks, but I do have an OEM Honda carb, which should bolt on okay. Now, this one actually was giving me a little bit of trouble running lean on a GX 390. Most likely it's not going to run this one perfectly, but I think it'll be good enough to get this thing started just so that we can validate that it makes power. I think the other complication here is that the choke actually is expecting a whole mechanism up here that's missing. So there's really nothing to click this choke in place, so I'll just have to hold it once it's running. And then I think the other big unknown here is the fact that I don't have the servo choke control. Is the brain box in this generator going to sense that and do something like shut the engine down? I'm not sure, but we'll give this one a try and see what happens. I'm going to steal this recoil from this PowerMate generator. This is a Honda clone as well, and I'm pretty sure this will bolt on to the Champion. All right, got the IV bottle hooked up and the light as well. So I'm ready to give this thing a try. I'm pretty sure it'll run. I think it will run a bit lean, and that choke's going to give me some trouble, but that's okay. I just want to see that it runs and makes power, and then we'll go from there. Makes power. $61.8, 122.6. Not bad. Not bad. All right, well, this one caught me by surprise. I knew it would run, but I didn't think it was going to run as well as this. I mean, it started right up. I was able to turn the choke off right away, and the engine did just fine. And the generator makes power. We were close to, I think it was 62 hertz unloaded, and it held at around 60.8 at a 1500 watt load. So we're doing pretty well. So I'm going to get this back inside. I want to place an order, get all the missing parts, and then we'll finish this thing up. All right, all the bits and pieces have shown up and are ready to be installed. Now, these are not Champion-specific parts, but they are Honda GX390 clone parts and should fit on here. So let's bolt them up and see how they fit. All right, well, there is a couple oversights here. First being really the airbox. It's just not right for this engine. Even though it bolts on fine, you know, there's a major flaw here, and that's the choke lever. The choke lever, although it fits and works, the back of the box is supposed to have a tab to keep that choke lever from falling off, and this box doesn't have it, so that choke lever is not going to stay in place. And even if that wasn't an issue, I guess the more minor problem here is that this box needs to be bolted on, 6 bolts in total, and it didn't come with the bolts. That is a problem I've had with these before, and I completely forgot about it. So I don't have those bolts. I have to buy them, but I think the more pressing issue is the carb. Now, I think this box is meant for a carb that has like the vacuum servo choke, and as luck would have it, actually a subscriber sent me his extra carb just the other day, and I have it right here. So it is essentially the same carb, except the choke is different. It's not a choke lever. It's actually expecting this piece here to turn the choke on and off. So I think this will work. This also has the vacuum here to turn the choke off automatically, which isn't going to work with this generator, but that's okay. We don't need that servo. We just need this choke lever here. So I'm going to take the box back off. We'll try swapping the carb setups, and then this should work. So this next part is going to be impossible to show you. There's only enough room for me or the camera, but not both. Anyway, the red wire needs to go on the starter solenoid, which is right here. You can just see what's left of the old red wire that was cut off. All right, the red wire is done. Now, I couldn't use actually the wires that I had bought for this. These were a nice 6-gauge wire, and I find this size a lot on generators, but these terminals here are just too big for the starter solenoid and wouldn't have worked well on the battery. So the remains of the wire that was on the starter solenoid was just a 10-gauge wire, which seems a bit undersized, but I double-checked online, and 10-gauge actually is fine for 12 volts, 100 amps at about 2 feet, which is what that is. So that's what I went with on the red wire. I'm just going to make up the black one now, and then we'll attach the battery. So this here is for just tying an extension cord together, but I think it'll work to replace the battery strap with. Maybe one on each side, something like that. All right, quick trip to the store, and we got the hardware we need to finish up the airbox. Okay, let's give this carb a try. Sounds good. Under 27 volts, 61.6 hertz. .5 hertz, 126.6 volts. Yeah, not too bad. You know, for something that was destined to be crushed and melted down, and it had no compression, this thing's doing quite well. You know, that carb runs the engine fine. It started right up, and I was able to turn the choke off right away. You know, unloaded, it was at 61.5 hertz, and under 3,000 watt load, it only dropped a little bit to about 60.5, which is really good. And I did check the charging system. The battery was charging. I'd say the only thing left on this might be this meter here that's missing. And the other one does have it, so most likely I'll steal it from that. But I'm going to hold off for now. I want to work on that generator and see if it's viable or not. But that'll be a separate video. I'd say for now, I'm done. So I hope this video helps someone. Thanks for watching.